Welcome, everyone. This is John Raymond from AccessIT Group. We'd like to thank you for joining our webinar today, which we'll be presenting in partnership with Checkpoint. Today, we'll be discussing the topic, Leading Cloud Security with CloudGuard Dome9. Next slide, please. While many of you listening today are long-term customers, some of you may not know as much about us. AccessIT Group is the premier VAR on the East Coast. We have over 2 decades of experience, 70+ employees spread across 6 locations here to serve you. Of special note, AccessIT Group has earned the prestigious elite partner relationship with Checkpoint. It's important to note there are only 4 companies in North America who have achieved this prestigious level. In order to achieve this, it means that we are leading in industrial standards of excellence in sales performance, customer service, and technical leadership. Simply put, when you deploy Checkpoint products with AccessIT Group, you really are getting the best value and most experienced technicians in the region. I'd like to take a moment to introduce our presenters today. From AccessIT Group, sorry, next slide, please. You were correct. From AccessIT, we have Mike Lopez, Director of Cloud Services. And from Checkpoint, we have Grant Asplund, Growth Technologies Evangelist. At this time, please let me introduce you to Grant Asplund. Grant?
Hey, thanks very much. And my apologies for the quick finger on the advancing of the slides. Everyone, didn't mean to make you think there were windshield wipers out there. Hey, thanks very much, everyone, for joining me. I'm very excited to be with you today, and a special shout out to my longtime friends, David and Joe. Thank you very much, guys, for inviting me to participate with you in this event. I'm really excited. Really pumped to be here with you as well, Michael. Brilliant cloud wizard. We're happy to have you guys as a partner. Actually, I guess I could say we're lucky to have you as a partner. So super excited about this. And thank you all very much for joining me. You know, we're in an unprecedented time in many respects. In the context of this presentation, you know, everything's went software defined. Everything is software defined. And with this new software defined era, we've ushered in some new challenges that frankly, many are either not paying attention to or just really aren't understanding and appreciating the nuances, the subtleties, the differences that can have massive and severe consequences. So listen, I don't have to belabor this, so I won't, but I'm going to put the slide up after all. We've been hearing about this for a long time, right? Cloud is just exploding. It's taking over the world in many regards. And in fact, if you look at something like infrastructure as a service, you know, compound annual growth, it's 27.5, it's approaching 30%. It's just huge, and it continues. But we have to have perspective on all of this. And this is really, really key. Because despite this overwhelming, phenomenal growth of the cloud, it's still a fraction of what we're spending on IT. I mean, less than 5% in 2018. So we need to shift our focus, our perspective on really communicating and articulating the unbelievable value of this elastic, ephemeral world called the cloud. And in fact, show you how you can build a data center that's even more secure, even more efficient than one you've been using and managing on your own. Now listen, I'm going to ask the audience, you know, just ask yourself, do I have one of these behind my house powering everything 24/7, 365? I'll bet not. And it's obvious, right? I mean, it just makes so much sense. And this ability to just plug in and consume, right? Compute as a service It's really, really powerful, and it does make all the sense in the world. Now listen, I'll admit, okay, I'm kind of an analogy guy, and what I see or how I describe you and how you've been managing and maintaining your infrastructure, you have been the captain of your own ship. You've chosen the harbor to anchor, you've charted your own course, you have managed and maintained it all. You choose the oil that you put in the engine, where to fuel, what food goes in the cupboards. Truly captain of your own ship. And now things are changing a bit. And this, while you may laugh at, is really accurate, because the previous ship that you captain, if it has one bedroom, it's never going to have more than one bedroom unless you build out another bedroom. Where this ship can have as many as you want. Well, maybe not literally, but the point is the scalability is unprecedented at your fingertips. But with that unprecedented scalability comes also some really, really difficult challenges. And so just because you've been the captain of your own ship for decades, it does not mean that you can immediately step into the bridge on this ship, certainly not without some help and some assistance. And when you look at being able to truly move at the speed of cloud, you need assistance, because there are things that you will never see in this environment that you would never see, I should say, in your own data center. Now, we all remember back when virtualization came about, and we were thrilled that we were going to finally move from 8 to 15% utilization of our servers up to a reasonable capacity. But with it entered new challenges, right? We needed new tools to address things like vMotion and visibility into the inter-VM communications. Well, as the late, great Yogi Berra famously said, it's deja vu all over again. It's only exacerbated because now that sprawl, that drift is potential, because I can access that environment from anywhere in the world. I don't have to get into your data center. It really represents a new challenge. This far and away is one of the most difficult to address, but it's one of the features that we all absolutely love and love to take advantage of in the cloud. It's one of the reasons we moved to the cloud. And it is this ephemeral, elastic, always being able to almost breathe and expand and contract as we need. Powerful stuff. But with it comes consequences, because it's so much different than the world we used to be in that was controlled and arguably static, and something you really could set and maybe not forget, but just go back and check. Now, think of something, I may be mixing metaphors here a little bit, so forgive me, but something as simple as, hey, it's time to eat. Put some cereal on the table and you're ready to go. In this new ship, you have different concerns. Scalability, being able to ensure consistency across all of the workloads that you've got within the environment. Ensuring and adhering compliance is really challenging as you scale up and scale down. So there are different tools you need to address these environments. Now, this data comes from the cybersecurity report. It was Cybersecurity Insiders did a cloud security report. There's some 600,000 constituents in this group. And they did this study, and these are the results. And clearly it shows most are going to be either in a hybrid or multi-cloud environment. And far and away, this is what we see as well with most of our customers, certainly as they progress through the maturity process of utilizing the cloud. Now, you can ask yourself, what are my biggest operational headaches in the cloud and see if it aligns with the results of this study. The information says compliance is number one, and a very close number two is being able to have crystal clear visibility into the infrastructure from a security perspective. So these are two big areas. So why is this a problem? I, again, am back at another analogy. You've got your on-premise data center, your cloud data center. Both in this slide, these are both places to go swimming. But on the left, you're going to have to worry about pH and chlorine. And if the water gets low, you're going to have to get the hose and fill it up. The one on the right, it's constantly being replenished, constantly changing with the water that's coming from the waterfall. And you might be more concerned about if there's something in there that could eat you or hurt you rather than the chlorine level. But they're both places to go swimming. They're both watering holes. And I use this example just to really highlight the same, but so different. And you do need different tools to manage and address this new environment. You can't continue to haul along the tools that you've been using for the last 2 decades. You know, they may work in some fashion, in some instances, for some use, but it's going to be limited. And for the most part, as the data shows, they're going to fail. They're going to leave you short, leave you wanting more. You're not going to get what you need. Now, I think we all know, it's dangerous out there. There's lots of bad people that want to do nefarious and bad things. And certainly the cloud enables that access or exposure, right? The surface area is much, much larger. And so, one of the questions was, have you been hacked? And what's frightening about this slide, I think, is that 1 out of 4 don't even know, which I think clearly highlights the visibility issue into the environment. So what's happening? Well, there's just, as we all know, every IT security department on earth is busier than a 3-headed cat at a bird show. I mean, come on. There's a massive shortage of people, of human resources, and that in and of itself is causing pressure. But these subtleties and nuances that I referred to earlier in the presentation, they can really get you. And so many people, how many of you recall RTFM? I'll give you a second and remind you the F is for fine. We don't read manuals anymore. We rely on undo. And this can be catastrophic. There are a couple hundred things in Amazon, AWS alone that have no undo at all. So we have to dig a little deeper and really understand the nuances, because the fact is the growth rate, the number of new services being offered, the acceleration with things like containers and functions and Kubernetes, and this is just really causing a great challenge for the traditional enterprise IT security teams to be able to adequately address. Now the cloud, listen, drift and sprawl is so simple. You thought it was bad. I'm telling you, with virtualization, now it is just exacerbated massively. And we now have a new world where everything is API driven, right? We talked about this at the top. It's all software defined. This means I have new ways to get my job done, right? It's like a marionette. All those strings are tied to the doll, and I have to move it around via those APIs as opposed to going in and actually touching it. This is a new challenge. part of the challenge is the fact that the APIs are lumpy insofar as how they're coming from the cloud providers. They're not exactly all the same. Consequently, some have capabilities that others don't. And as we start to federate, as we start to leverage this thing called the cloud in more and more ways with things like code repositories, and we're literally building HA using 2 separate clouds, unifying and homogenizing all of that can be really, really challenging, let alone managing and maintaining control of that complex and constantly changing surface area. Now, the fact is the tools are young. The tools are immature. They're evolving. There's lots of things going on. It's a rapidly moving space. But the fact is, Gartner's come out and said, look, it's going to be your fault. And so you need to heed their caution and get tools to help you protect you from you. Now, let me just give you a few quick, simple, but poignant, I think, examples of the kind of breaches that we see. And this is one, I guess, it may be one of the ones we hear about the most, right? The foolish storage exposed to the internet. But this is the point I was mentioning earlier, when everything is software defined. And we're so accustomed to being able to just go and build it and touch it. And now we've got to do it all through configuration screens and checkboxes. And this is where we can inadvertently fail to check a box, to properly configure an asset. And remember, I can get to it from anywhere. So where, the old days of, hey, Grant, give me your card key so I can get into the data center over the weekend. I'm probably not doing that. But hey, Grant, give me your username and password. I need to get a job done over the weekend. I'll delete everything when I'm done. That, might happen. And that's the problem. So, I mean, we are seeing movement here, right? For example, default used to be unencrypted. I think now more you're seeing default is encrypted for new storage, but this is just one example. One of the clear misunderstandings, and evidence is 99% of the problems or mistakes are going to be the customer's fault, is this confusion or misunderstanding about the shared responsibility model. And I know all of you are rolling your eyes and saying, oh yeah, I've heard this, but clearly there is confusion. Now I am, going to oversimplify it by bifurcating it and saying it's in and of. That's it. In is what you are responsible for. Of is what the cloud providers are responsible for. So of the cloud hardware and infrastructure, the cloud providers are going to keep all that stuff patched and secure, frankly, better than any of us can do, okay? But we are still responsible for patching and maintaining any and everything that's in those environments. And you have to remember, this fruit for the bad guys is very low hanging because they just got to be able to get access. And that access, if you're federating, if you're connecting to other partners, if one website's onto another website to another application, I mean, you know how it is. This is how these types of exploits occur. So it's imperative that we patch and make sure everything is up to date. Keep an eye on all the CVEs. Now, the last example I want to give you is what we're going to, I predict, see more and more of. And these are going to be these more complex, more compounded, sophisticated attacks that take advantage of this interconnected, arguably hyper-connected world we're all living in today. And the whole key here is you've got to see what's going on. You have to have the visibility. You have to have the continuous enforcement of your policy, and you need to stop it before it hurts you This is the key message here. We're starting to get so interconnected, and we have to remember where the lines are and what our responsibility is, and appreciate that. This is why, I'll tell a little story real quickly. Back in 1998, 99, I actually had this company, iView.com, was going to get a web camera that could go on the internet and do live video. Isn't that extraordinary? Give me a break. It was a few years ago. But what was amazing is this camera, this camera cost $3,000, $3,500, had a little Apache server built into it, Ethernet connection on the back. I think it eked out maybe 20, 25 frames a second. Today, if you ring my doorbell, I've got a far superior camera looking at you, and it's pennies. It's become commoditized. This is something we will never see in the world of cybersecurity beyond them commoditizing the tools they use to attack you in more and more sophisticated ways, in more and more automated ways, in more and more efficient ways. So we have to continue to counter. It's just like the age-old battle, right? You get a mace, I get a shield. We go back and forth. We have to continue to do that. And as we've moved into this new world called the public cloud, it's additive, ladies and gentlemen. You can't forgive or forget anything that you've been doing, but now you need new tools to be able to thwart new potential attacks, to have visibility into these new environments. Now, I'm happy to report they are getting much better because they understand, they being the cloud providers, that you are concerned about security. You are concerned about adopting the environment and having it possibly be breached or not being right. So you're seeing more and more services being offered, more options to offer to reduce risk for enterprise customers. And I think you can continue to expect to see that. I mean, listen, ladies and gentlemen, the cloud providers provide terrific security. But what they don't do is they don't homogenize and unify and give you a single pane of glass. And especially the second you start to dip your toe into multiple clouds or hybrid, that's where you need help. And so these cloud providers are doing us a great service because they're continuing to bolster the API suites and what they're making available, which in turn, I mean, they're partners. We're partners with them. And so you can continue to see the really exciting integration that comes from working with these cloud providers. And there's a lot of exciting innovation that continues to occur. I mentioned earlier, I mean, when you consider something like containers, albeit it's been around for a while, it really was not being used at all 5 years ago. Today, a third, nearly half of our cloud accounts are using containers of some sort. So it's extraordinary, the speed and pace. And this is also being imposed on the security services that are being delivered. As the threats evolve, so do the solutions, and you're starting to see new innovative tools to address functions, to be able to address infrastructure as code so that you can actually secure that code and not impose or impede on the developer. There's some really, really cool stuff, but it's evolving. And the fact is, you need to look for tools that do bring unification across the multiple cloud environments. With all of these APIs, we're able to build some really exciting tools, and you're going to continue to see from Checkpoint, certainly, some really exciting new capabilities by leveraging the rich APIs as well as exposing our own. We've made an enormous commitment to the cloud. It is at the center of everything that we are doing. And I always tell my audiences, make sure whoever you partner with, you know, make sure it's someone like AccessIT with resources like Mike and the rest of their team. I mean, they're brilliant and you really need it, because the fact of the matter is, if you go out to try to take advantage of this environment without the expertise, it's going to get you. So let's, you know, kind of shift and talk a little bit about trends that we're seeing in the cloud right now today. Certainly, one of the most exciting is this idea of shifting left security, moving it all the way over into the DevOps process, into that cycle, get out of the waterfall and really move into a CI/CD pipeline model where we are constantly applying security interrogation throughout the process, not just waiting until the very end. You know, this coupled with things like microsegmentation and the mentality of, you know, the way I describe it is, imagine you have a piece of rope that's 200 feet long. And if you have a problem anywhere in that rope, you have to replace the whole rope. As opposed to having 200 1-foot pieces of rope that magically stick together. But if you have a problem within any one of those 1-foot sections, you can go down into, take it out, put in a new one, fix it. It's awesome, and you don't disrupt that entire, you know, the other 199 feet. I mean, it's really a great strategy, but you need to embrace the cloud in a cloud native manner. You need to invest in the resources, the training, but it can really, really provide for some amazing benefits. Listen, to be clear, API world, you know, I always, you know, kind of say, hey, we don't touch your junk. We don't touch anything. We alert you. We notify you. We let you know, hey, this isn't right. So in order to really, truly move at the speed of cloud, we need to automate our response and remediation. It's imperative. And there are a variety of options and ways to do it. I'm going to point you to one in particular called CloudBots. But I want to caution you that as you move to automating remediation or just automation overall, you have to be aware that you'll have new challenges. You know, a small boo-boo can have catastrophic consequences on the other end. And so, you know, really, we're still a ways away from really having assembled and put together a true security orchestration. It's young. But it's very, very promising. And the fact is, things are happening so fast, we just need to be cautious. But I do encourage you to take a look at CloudBots, cloudbots.io. It's an open source project that is curated by Dome9, but it's really exciting. There's tons of bots that are already there, already built, that you can use to truly automate your response and remediation. I mentioned this earlier. It's just off the hook. I mean, containers are growing, but it makes so much sense because you know, it's like Lincoln Logs that are all predefined, pre-measured, fit together, plug and play, and you go. I mean, it's really an exciting new growth area, a new capability for you. And I encourage you, if you're not doing it, get into it. It's exploding. It's exploding. Now, you know, one of the questions, I mentioned this already earlier, but one of the questions is, you know, how are you going to start to adopt more public cloud? What's going to increase your comfort and confidence in doing so? And, you know, number one is encrypt my data at rest, which, as I mentioned earlier, many the providers are defaulting to encrypted as opposed to unencrypted. So this is starting to see happen. I need to automate my compliance. I can't have it be dependent on me. And I need more and more APIs for reporting, auditing, and alerting. And I mentioned earlier, this is one of the challenges is we're getting a lot of APIs, but they're coming differently from each of the cloud providers. And this is because each of the cloud providers are different. They're all summiting the same mountain, but they're taking different paths and they have different products. For example, some have some stuff called Active Directory and others don't. So, you know, there's different ways they've implemented identity and access management as opposed to others. So this makes it lumpy for all of you as you enter into a hybrid or multi-cloud world. And one of the questions is what's important to you? Custom rules. This is key, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all world at all anymore. And when you combine drift and you combine this sprawl and you come with all of the cloud capabilities, you need absolutely and unequivocally the ability to write a rule that's specific for you, your customer, your company, your business. And I'm going to actually show you how you can do that, but this is a big deal. I need to tie it into my ticketing systems. I need it to integrate, obviously, right? It can't be a silo, and integration with more security scanners and tools. Now, I'm going to just run through quickly these 5 cloud designs. You need to protect everything. This is a challenging effort because everything is changing and moving so fast as we go from VMs and workloads and containers and now serverless, and but all things have to be secured. We can't leave anything behind, ladies and gentlemen. Everything we've been doing, we have to continue to do, and now there's new and more. We need to unleash, unshackle our developers, really dig into enabling DevOps, DevSecOps by leveraging the cloud, and make sure your partners, your security partners, are providing the ability to homogenize, unify, and secure all of your cloud environments. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, I really encourage you to look for native tools, look to leverage the native tools that come from the cloud provider. Make sure your security partners are doing the same and exposing rich APIs for you to leverage. Quickly, I'm going to just tell you of a few resources. I'm not going to belabor these couple of slides, but I will point out that I have these available and can make them available to any of you that would like them. This is a great ebook on compliance and how to ensure you can automate the process. Take a look at it. We wrote this along with Amazon. Another recommendation is go get started on containers. Go and just select an app that's not connected to anything else and go and try it. You'll find it's really a powerful and exciting technology. If you haven't, if you have, tell more people about how to take advantage of it. There's another resource that is so rich. I had to put this mouse print slide in. Please, this is a great document. It's our Cloud Security Blueprint 2.0. It's rich and provides great insight and guidance on microsegmentation, on really building out the right environment and understanding how to build and architect the right cloud environment before you jump. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mike to tell you a little bit about some of the successes they've had.
Thanks, Grant. Definitely appreciate the input there, and your insights are always valuable. Keep hearing you speak, and it gets better every time. So thank you very much. Appreciate you being involved here. You know, fortunately here as the partner, we run into the implementation side, right? We get to spend a lot of time with the customer on evaluation of tools and understanding what their real needs are, what their real concerns are as we start to bring in our tool set and our services that can offer the security that you need and the visibility. So I've got 3 different customers I'm going to talk about real quick, and then some of the common denominators. The first one I'm talking about is a manufacturing client. They had a very advanced AWS deployment and integrated CI/CD pipeline, and they were beginning to move into multi-cloud. And they needed a way to make sure that they could control visibility and security inside of each of the cloud providers' native controls, since their CI/CD pipeline already had approved code in each. The automated remediation gave them total control of deployments based upon their custom deployment methodologies, and saw a huge value add in the logic functionality of Dome9. Now that the serverless portion has been integrated into it, they're actually using their dev environment to allow developers to work with serverless, Lambda, and microservices, including containers, realizing the advanced capabilities of Dome9 and now how the API hooks can catch the code at the point of check-in to the repository and reject the code within the hour, thus accelerating the agile development of their business. And we've seen a reduction in workload and advanced opportunity and much more secure environment taking advantage of these. Another particular customer that we've had great success with is a government contractor that's required to maintain FIPS as well as certain ISO standards in order to keep their environment in constant compliance. But they all, on top of the alerting features for any out-of-standard deployments, it also gave their security team a deep review on the deployments inside their environment. In this particular case, it allowed them to constantly monitor their environment and work with the compliance team for all audit prep as well. They were able to use it in their audit preparations and provide evidence based upon what Dome9 has brought to them and the way that they have the visibility that they would not have been able to do so otherwise. We have another customer. It's a teaching hospital, which brings some interesting things into play because they have a combination of assets. So they have their EDU environment, they also have their R&D environment. And of course, security was concerned about their lack of visibility into the changes and the traffic flows. So being able to utilize the Dome9 discovery, they were quickly able to see the value. They began to utilize the more advanced feature sets of the auto remediation with our help to create an environment that they could have standards on based upon the environment, whether it was the EDU environment or the R&D environment that they were required to keep secure. Different had to meet different levels. So the common concerns across any industry is visibility into the cloud environment and maintaining compliance. I hear this from every customer I speak to. Traditional perimeter security controls don't allow DevOps teams to take advantage of today's technologies or don't provide the necessary controls and visibilities for security, as Grant alluded to. One of the most common things we find is that the traditional security team lacks the expertise in cloud, and while they may know their day jobs inside and out, cloud is a new part of space for them. Between the educational curve and with the speed of cloud, many teams find it challenging. So by bringing in tools that are easy to use, simple to deploy, that have pre-built controls, Dome9 reduces these concerns drastically. And where customization is required with the GSL, AccessIT is here to help. So in my cloud development experience, the more ability we give to the dev teams to maximize the cloud technologies, take advantage of the past, the serverless offerings, the more agile they become, the more cost savings we see in the cloud. By extending Dome9 into the environment, we help bridge the traditional gap between security and development. The continued shift left mentality about getting security into the application build process both helps secure the application and the environment, but it lets dev teams get a true understanding of where their application stands as they develop it, instead of through the promotion of code into production to find security flaws that have to be reworked weeks after the code was originally written. The automation of the security controls and the remediation not only helps reduce the personnel involved, but it prevents the human error factor, which is always a concern with misconfiguration leading to breaches, as we've seen in today's presentation. Most cloud breaches are a result of a misconfiguration, keeping security teams up at night wondering what is happening in their environment. Cloud changes rapidly, so do threats. Having the automated remediation lets our customers continue to develop as fast as they can while continuing to ensure a secure environment that can adapt as fast as the cloud does. And Grant's got some neat stuff to show us.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, that's so exciting. I love hearing, I love hearing the stories from the street where there's just real value that gets provided. So what Mike mentioned, let me just bounce back to the main home screen here. this is CloudGuard Dome9, and this is in fact our preview mode of the new dashboard. Any of you that have seen it in the past may be more fond of what you remember seeing in the past. It's still here, but remember, it's a SaaS, right? So it's pretty powerful that we can actually just be implementing and adding new things all the time. So really powerful, really exciting, insightful, and notice how it homogenizes everything. I've got multiple cloud environments, all, 5,000 plus protected assets. I'm not going to go through all of this. I don't have the time. I'd have to hand it over to Mike anyway, because he's the guy that is really the expert. But I want to demonstrate to you the unbelievable power that you're only going to find here. And it's even more powerful when a Gilligan like me can show you. So this is when you go to posture management within the compliance rule set, you'll see I've got tons of rule sets already defined. I mean, it comes with thousands, literally, of bundles that are predefined. But as we've already identified, I need to customize my rules. I need it to be just for me. And this is the power of the GSL builder. Now check this out. I can write for any of these environments. And I'm stupid, okay, ladies and gentlemen? I'm no developer. Okay, maybe not stupid, that's a bit harsh. But I know I don't want any S3 buckets unencrypted. And I'm gonna write a rule that's going to go check my environment. So I point and click on S3 bucket. It's getting pretty tough here. Should have. What's the, encryption? That's it. I'm done. Close the scope. And I can actually go and I can select my environment and I can test it. And it'll go and immediately run, and hey, good for me, all of my 76 S3 buckets are encrypted. But to show you the power, this rule, and let's say it should have a tag that contains 44. Well, let's see, a key value, or let's see, go back, sorry. Key equals 44, add. And now if I close the scope and I test, I'm going to have a lot of failures. But look at the power. I mean, I just have to go in and, oh, by the way, here's the context preview of what I'm writing. All simple, easy. And then if I say, hey, I like that, I want to write a rule, I can then use CloudBots to actually execute that, because what I'm doing is I'm discovering it, right? Using the API, saying, hey, I found them all. Now I want to fix them. I could use CloudBots to actually go and remediate. So this is just such a small example, but it's awesome. Mike, thanks again for the great success stories and all the awesome stuff that you and AccessIT Group do for us. You guys are really a terrific partner, and it's not smoke up their skirt, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, I've known these guys for more than 2 decades, and they're the best of the best, and it's why they've won the awards they have. So listen, it's not to be flip, it's not to be condescending, but we really need help. Because what we want to do is soar and move at the speed of cloud, but we still got this thing called security we got to worry about. And so it does make sense for you to get tools to help as this market, as the attack surface is just constantly getting bigger, expanding with more and more vectors of potential compromise. You got to go native, man. Don't believe this lift and shift mentality. Hey, you got all your data center virtualized, just shift it up into the cloud. Don't do it. Go talk to Mike. Go talk to experts. Go sit down and really understand how to get to a cloud native state, or at least a strategy that will get you there, it'll pay off in spades. I've already mentioned this, ladies and gentlemen, we're in a massive shortage, so look for help. If you don't have it, train it. If you can't train it, buy it. I mean, you got to get the knowledge, the expertise, because it's not slowing down. It being all of the innovation that we're continuing to see come from the cloud, you need to keep up, because these bad guys are out there racing to get ahead of you. So with that, I want to thank you all very, very much. I really appreciate your time, and hopefully you found this information worthy of the 30, 40, 50 minutes that we're spending together. My email is here. Please send me an email. I'll happily provide you with any of the resources I mentioned within the presentation, the Cloud Security Report from Cybersecurity Insiders, the ebook on compliance with AWS and Checkpoint, and then the blueprint, the Cloud Security Blueprint 2.0. I'd be happy to provide those for you. Just let me know. And with that, I'll hand it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Grant. I really appreciate the time and the depth, as well as the full scope of knowledge you presented today. Also, a thank you to our own Mike Lopez. If you do have additional questions about our partner program, if there are any questions that you have right now, we do have a Q&A session. So please feel free to navigate to the Q&A bar and go ahead and place your questions in there, and we'll get them answered for you. We do have a few minutes to go ahead and take questions, so I'd encourage everybody to get your questions in. While we wait for questions to be entered, I will go ahead and share that if you have to run, if you think of questions that come up after the webinar ends, we do have several ways to get in touch with AccessIT. You can call us directly, you can email your questions to us, and you can also reach out to us via our website. We'll give it just another few minutes for any questions to come in.
Oh, I've got one here. The question is, what cloud environments do we support with CloudGuard Dome9? And so currently it's Amazon. We've been a partner with Amazon for a long, long time. Microsoft, Azure, and Google. And we also support Kubernetes. And you can continue to expect to see more expansion into more capabilities like containers and functions and all the other growing areas within the cloud. But really, it's those three main cloud providers.
And to Grant's point, AccessIT is also partnered with those three main cloud providers. So as we talk about taking advantage of the native controls and the rich APIs that they are offering, and how can we secure them, AccessIT can help tie that bridge between what is my cloud provider offering, where are we at, what can you show us, and that security standpoint.
Hey, Mike, I got a question here. This, I think, is for you guys. How can we, do you have evaluations available? Can we try Dome9? What's the best way for someone, if they're interested in taking a look at it, what's the best way to go about that?
Right here on our Contact Us is a perfect way to reach out. Send out, we can schedule a demo for you, let you show what it does. I have a live environment. If we need to look at setting up a demo in your environment, we can certainly do that as well. A couple of neat things that have been set up in our environment where we've got some automation running, where we intentionally check in code that gets kicked back so that you can see how we can leverage all of the new serverless pieces that's brought in as compute as a service. So reach out here and we'll be glad to schedule a demo with you.
So I'll throw out something here just because I love you guys. So I'll buy lunch for anybody that contacts Mike and says they want to take a look at Dome9. And what Mike or someone on his team will do, Mike, I hope this is okay, is they'll arrange for an on-site demo. And what they'll do is get it all set up and configured. Then they'll take you to lunch And when you come back, I'll guarantee you'll be amazed at what you're able to see with that CloudGuard Dome9 in place. So I'll just throw that out there.
That's definitely usually the MO. Obviously, in today's remote workforce days, we've had to modify that a little bit and do some different things, right, with some of the Grubhub gift cards and things that are being offered. But we're definitely excited to be able to show you the power in your environment, set up the demo real fast, run a few queries on some things you might be concerned about, and then show you the power of the remediation and how quickly you can get back into compliance.
So there's a question, do you see this? Which tools are you using for security breaches? And I'm not sure, there's one of the tools that I didn't get a chance to really talk too much about that I encourage you to contact Mike or folks at AccessIT Group is something called Logic. And Logic is a really exciting tool that enriches the data that comes from the cloud, gives it context, because that's one of the problems, right? Is, we in this world of security have been keying off of IP addresses, for example, forever, right? But in the cloud, you may have a function, a Lambda function that'll use multiple IP addresses in a matter of seconds. So following the traditional path of dumping that information into a SIM, your SIM's going to go bleh, because it's not going to really get it, right? Yes, Logic is spelled log.ic, and there's a little play on that. But this is a terrific threat hunting tool. And what's powerful about it, you remember I showed you GSL, and I showed you the power, and it created the context over on the right-hand side of the screen. Well, guess what language Logic uses? I know, you're brilliant. GSL. So it's the undercurrent through the entire product.
Let me jump in for just a second.
Please.
I do want to encourage everyone that if they do have questions, navigate to the Q&A in your bottom navigation bar and go ahead and enter a typed question. That's the way we're handling questions today. We do have a number of other questions that have come up. Let me go ahead and pose this one from Jim. Is Dome9 agnostic from a firewall standpoint? Other applications, etc.?
Yes.
Of course.
But sorry, Grant, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'll hand it back to you, but I'll just a selfless plug. Listen, take a look at how we homogenize, how we unify. And if you've got a firewall on-prem, if it's Checkpoint, there's some significant benefits. And I can, to be able to unify that view and that policy and understanding cloud objects and tagging within the management interface, you won't get those benefits, but we are certainly agnostic. Mike?
Yeah, the key really is the development effort that's been put in by the CloudGuard Dome9 team to stay agnostic into the cloud and to take advantage of the APIs that the cloud providers offer us and to be able to dig deep. You guys heard me talk about that first case study, the manufacturing client that was able to start doing threat hunting with the Logic functionality. It was something that most security teams don't find the time to do. All of a sudden with GSL, they can do massive threat hunting where they previously didn't have the time. But yeah, this is absolutely it doesn't matter what your perimeter firewall, it doesn't matter if you've got IS firewalls, this doesn't impact those. They can work together, but the correlation and that logging is a key factor that makes a true SIM actually understand what's going on, because a traditional SIM doesn't handle the way the cloud works. They're not there yet. They're trying, but they're not there yet.
Excellent. I think we have another question. Again, just a reminder, go ahead and navigate to the Q&A section and put in your typed question. We've had some great questions so far. Another one is, will Cloud9 be able to do mapping and have end-to-end visibility into my environment? Mapping from the internet edge into the assets in the cloud.
Sorry, I was muted. I suspect that you mean Dome9. I'm imagining as opposed to Cloud9, but thanks. Maybe that's a Freudian slip that this has just been like heaven. And you've been on Cloud9 for the last hour. I guess I'd need to better understand when you say mapping. I mean, we have complete and clear visibility down to the individual assets. I don't know, Mike, maybe you can expand on that.
Sorry, I had to get off mute, did the same thing you did there, following right in your footsteps. Yeah, the mapping capability, it's a network visibility, and it provides it at the cloud provider level. It will show you where you have your IGWs, your internet gateways. It will show you where you have your VPC connections. It will show you where you may have a VPN gateway. So we can get all the way out to that edge in those demonstrations. So even more in depth than just the internet edge.
Very good, and thank you. We do have about 5 minutes left, so if you do have any additional questions, please go ahead and get those in. As I said, if you think of a question that either we didn't get time for or comes up later, please feel free to reach out to us via our phone, email, or our web presence, and we can get those answers for you. All right, it looks like we've wrapped up on questions, so I'll simply ask Mike, Grant, do you have any additional talking points you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think one of the key things that Dome9 brings, it brings a simplistic, easy to deploy, simple onboarding, pre-built compliance check tools in. One of the things that I have found with our customers is when they have advanced environments and they need to do custom checks, that the GSL language, as easy as Grant is able to show it, can be taught very quickly. But people get scared of it, I've noticed. And that's one of the offers that AccessIT brings in, is let us show you how to create those custom queries. Because once we show you once how to fish, you're going to fish for the rest of your life with this. This isn't a, I'm going to bring this on and I don't really understand it. Am I going to always need consultancy help? Am I always going to have to reach out to the vendor? And the answer is no. It is easy to pick up. Might be a little bit scary to look at it because GSL is created specifically for this. However, we can certainly help you get those ready, help you with the custom queries, and even take advantage of our industry experience of playbooks and everything that are built ready to go and bring those in to help out. That's one of the common things I've seen with customers being concerned about the onboarding. Grant?
Yeah, I just want to express my thanks and appreciation for being invited to participate. I really appreciate it, Mike. So thank you to the entire AccessIT group team. A special shout out to my buddies, Joe and David. Listen, this is where we're all going. If anybody doubts it, I guess you're going to go to the store and buy some buggy whips later. Because I'm telling you, this is the new world, and you can go it alone or you can go with expertise. And certainly I think that's what we love so much about you guys. So I appreciate having the chance. Again, send me an email. I'll be happy to provide the resources I mentioned, and I appreciate everyone attending. Thank you.
And thank you, Grant, for everything. Appreciate you joining. Always glad to work with you again.
You bet.
Appreciate your time and your expertise.
Then it only leaves me to thank everyone who attended today. We appreciate that you've taken time to have lunch with us today, and hopefully you found this as informative and entertaining as we have. Thank you, and have a good day.